Welcome. So this is our passive income webinar. We're going to be talking all about how to productize your service-based business for a more consistent cash flow. So my name is Mac. I have been a HoneyBook employee since 2017, which I always say in startup years is a lifetime. So I've been here for a very long time, and I know the product like the back of my hand. So I am excited to tune you guys into some of the ways that you can get really creative in connecting some of the HoneyBook tools and really setting it up for your specific business use case. So I am going to go ahead and bring Latasha up here so that we can introduce her to you guys and go ahead and get started here.
All right. So hello, everyone. I'm Latasha. I own a marketing agency called James and Park, and I kind of have been documenting that whole journey of entrepreneurship through online content as well. So I create content on YouTube and a podcast and create a ton of online educational content for freelancers and entrepreneurs. And I am a big HoneyBook fan, so I'm super excited to be here. It's a game changer for the business. So yeah, excited. Like Max said, passive income, digital products. These are some of my favorite things to talk about. And I think that we all can take a little bit from it and hopefully productize a bit of our businesses just to diversify our revenue. So that's what I'm here for. So yeah, passive income is essentially just income that comes in without requiring a ton of effort to maintain. You have probably downloaded digital products like ebooks, taken courses. Maybe you are a HoneyBook educator yourself or something like that, where you're getting affiliate income or stocks or something like that. For me personally, over the past couple of years, online courses have really climbed to the top of that revenue bucket. For me, online courses right now are over 50% of my revenue in the business. So like I said, I think that there is something that most all of us can sort of productize in our business. This certainly wasn't what I set out to do with my career. When I first started out, it was sort of a slow growth there, but it's nice because over the years it has grown into something very significant. All right, so let's get started. If you're thinking about getting into passive income, here's where you start. First, I think it's important to ask yourself if they're going to be a good fit for you and your business. So digital products are good for people who want to expand the reach of their offerings. So for me, in the agency, I was turning people down no matter how much I was raising a price or, bringing on an additional team member. There were never enough hours in the day to help every single person that submitted a HoneyBook form or, attended an event. I'm only one person at the end of the day. So the great thing about digital products is that you can help multiple people. You can help 100 people in the same amount of time as you can help one person. So that's really fantastic. It's also great if you are looking to offer different options for different budgets. So this is also something that I ran into is, if my time is limited, I have to charge a premium for the time, which means that I'm having to say no to a lot of people who maybe just want a more entry-level service or want a DIY solution. I wasn't really able to help them. Of course, it's great if you're looking to diversify your revenue streams. I know, 2020 and 2021 have taught us all a lot. And, especially if you're in events or the wedding industry, you might be thinking, how can I kind of start to future-proof my business for situations like that or just on an ongoing basis? Digital products are also great if your client base is very DIY. So if you are running into people who maybe want to do their own, whatever it is that you offer. For me, marketing, a lot of the times I have folks who want to keep their marketing in-house. They're just looking for kind of an expert consultant to bring in a second opinion or to train their staff. So that's a great option for you. Also, if you have a very solid client base as it is, you don't have to have this necessarily to get started, but it is great if you have people who want to become repeat customers and who just like to support you. And like I mentioned a couple slides ago, it's also great if you're patient or if you can be patient because digital products aren't something that most people turn on and the next day they, can quit their day job. It's something that takes a bit of time and nurturing to really build up to be a solid revenue stream. So one of the big objections that I hear, and that some of you may be thinking as you're listening to me speak, is I'm not ready for that. I don't know enough. I'm not qualified. We get this kind of imposter syndrome, if you will. And I've been there. I still am there sometimes. You don't need to know everything though. Like I'll give you permission right here. You don't need to know it all to be able to teach something. So I still am Googling things in my business all the time. Certainly do not know everything about freelancing and entrepreneurship and social media management, but I do know more than somebody who is in college and is looking to start their career, or even somebody who's a year or 2 years into business. I've been in business for 7 years. So, I think you really only need to know a little bit more than the person that you're speaking to be able to teach them something. So look at those DMs that you get. Look at your email inbox. Take a look at the things that people regularly ask you questions about. Your comments on your content that you post, your customer support email, and see if maybe there's something that you can create out of those things. Another thing I like to bring up is, are there other people who are doing it? Are there other people who are educating on this particular topic? And I know that might seem like it doesn't make a lot of sense because it feels like, okay, that's competition. But I don't look at it as competition. I look at it as opportunity. If other people are doing it, that probably means that market is viable, that topic is viable to create something new. And obviously you don't want to copy what other people are doing, but it's just showing that there is a market for that product or topic. Okay, so how to decide on what you are going to offer. First, you want to determine how much time that you have to devote to the project. Passive income doesn't mean, I think it's sometimes a bit of a misnomer for digital products just because you still do have to put a little bit of time into it. Definitely time at the upfront, but even on the ongoing basis, you're still going to need to do a little bit of maintenance here and there. Obviously, that maintenance is going to be a lot lower if you're just offering a checklist or a download or a guide compared to maybe a signature program or method or product or an ongoing course, right? If you're short on time, if you don't really have a lot of time to devote to this, consider just repurposing something that you already have. Maybe you have a blog post or an ebook already that you can, revamp and turn into something that you can sell. It's also important to survey your ideal clients to figure out, one, what format they prefer. Do they prefer ebooks? Do they prefer courses? Do they prefer checklists? And also how much time they have, right? If you're working in the wedding industry and your job is to help brides and grooms, they don't have a lot of time to sit through an 8-hour self-paced online course. And they're also, their attention span, their attention is being pulled in all these different directions. So they're probably not going to want to do that. So maybe a checklist is right for them. So it's important to understand where your clients are at too. And then lastly, you want to set a revenue goal, even if it's small, even if it's, I want to make $100 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever that is, that's going to really help you to keep yourself on track and make sure that you're actually referencing your digital product and you're not just kind of letting it go and collect dust. You do want to, of course, do competitor research to see what others in your space are charging so that you're charging a market rate for it. And also think about your launch costs too. The great thing about digital products is launch costs are pretty dang low, but you maybe want to buy a microphone so that you can record voiceovers or, upgrade your camera or your laptop or something. So do keep those things in mind. So just a couple of ideas. I've been sort of talking about ideas as we go, but some different things that you can think about doing are repurposing your content first and foremost. So video content, if you already have YouTube videos or IGTV videos or LinkedIn videos, you can easily repurpose some of that, maybe add to it, add a couple of screen shares to it, and turn those into video courses. Maybe if you have a webinar that you've done in the past that you have recorded, something like this, you could turn this into kind of an ongoing evergreen training that you offer, or sell a ticket to get access to it. Blog posts can easily turn into ebooks or guides with just a little bit of additional work. And also something to think about is add-ons. So adding on to what you already sell, because you may not want to, trade a $2,000 photography package, right, for a $50 course. That doesn't really make sense, but you can probably take that photography package and give something as an add-on to just kind of help you upsell and retain that loyalty from your clients. So, for a photography client that you have, maybe you do give them a preset pack so that they can use those with your images when they post on Instagram. Or for me, I give access to my course library to my one-on-one coaching clients. So that's a perk of working with me one-on-one. They get access to all those courses. Maybe templates, you have some HoneyBook templates or some email templates or something like that you provide to your service-based clients. So to wrap up this section here, the key things that you want to keep in mind for a digital product or a passive income product, first, you want to make sure that it solves a specific problem. So what does your target audience actually struggle with doing or understanding or becoming? It's really important to keep in mind, as opposed to keeping it really, really general and just saying, hey, this is going to help teach you about business. You want to say, this is going to teach you the 5 essential steps to launching your freelance photography business, right? That is so much more appealing and descriptive than something quite broad. Number 2, you want it to be clear and concise. So similarly, I think I hang myself up with this sometimes still, is that I need to put everything I know into this course. I need to just completely unload my brain into this course. But really, that's quite overwhelming for folks. So bigger and longer does not always equal better. Short and sweet is totally okay, as long as you are answering that question and solving that specific problem that we talked about in number 1. And lastly, make sure it's easy to use too. Poor UX is definitely going to cost you customers. So beta test, we'll talk about that in a little bit after Matt goes through a fun demo for you. But beta test, get feedback from people, research what other people are doing, and buy digital products yourself. When you're in this research phase, download ebooks, take courses just to see what you do like and what you don't like, so you can kind of apply those to your own. So I think that's it for now. I think I'm going to hand it over to you, Mac.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this concept of trying to figure out, what you can pick and pull from your own process that you can turn into a product and have live in kind of an evergreen format. And I do want to just reiterate, I think it is definitely true that people, when they think of passive income, they think of set it and forget it. And that's one way of doing it. Absolutely. You can have courses or presets or whatever that just live on your website and do their thing, but there is maintenance involved. There is the upfront work involved to get that set up successfully. And maybe your passive income is a little bit more interactive because your business is actually built around building relationships with people. And that's actually how you're going to kind of warm up some leads to eventually upsell them in the future. So don't be afraid to think a little bit outside of the box when we're talking about this concept of passive income, like Latasha is encouraging you guys to do. There are, different tools for different people out there. So I also want to encourage you guys to think about this concept that your strength could be your blind spot. This is something that we've talked about in webinars a lot before. Oftentimes you feel that the thing that you do really well, everybody does well because it comes so naturally to you. So you feel like maybe there's not a market there, or, everybody else already has that figured out because it comes so naturally to you. So really kind of sit down and evaluate those things that feel really natural, feel really easy. And again, that people are asking you questions about. I had a photographer who uses HoneyBook recently that she has been just selling her intake questionnaire that she sends to all of her new bridal clients. And it was so successful. She's just selling it on Etsy. So she just has it on there. She sells it on Etsy and you get the instant download. So that's like the forum that she's chosen to sell it on. But obviously she extracted that information from HoneyBook. And it was so successful that she started selling her follow-up questionnaire as well. So don't be afraid to really sit down and evaluate your strengths, because those oftentimes will be your blind spots. And that actually is an area that you can tap into and productize pretty naturally and easily. So don't be afraid to do that. So let's get into how HoneyBook connects to all of this. So there are really kind of two directions you can go when you're thinking about actually selling a product or marketing a product to your audience. So the first route, as I kind of mentioned with this girl who was selling her questionnaire, she's selling outside of HoneyBook. So selling outside of HoneyBook with a product or passive income is absolutely an option. You guys are probably well aware that HoneyBook doesn't have like an e-commerce solution that can, just sell products on your website. We're service focused. So you need to send an invoice in order to be able to bill them for it. And this idea of passive income is obviously having something just out there in the internet somewhere where someone can find it and pay you. So that absolutely is an option to be able to sell on, a third-party system like Etsy or, through your website. Like I think Square and all those different websites integrate with a third-party processor. So you could set your products up and sell them that way. So that is an option. And then you can promote that through HoneyBook. So, have your landing page where this content, this product lives, whether that be Etsy or your website or anything else, and then take that link and throw it into as much HoneyBook content as you can to kind of warm those leads up, to push that marketing in that direction. So we're talking like add this in your email signature in HoneyBook, which I can show you guys where that lives if you don't know. So we'll go up here and we'll spend a decent amount of time in templates right now. And then I'm going to talk through how you could potentially automate some of this as well. So you can set this up as a link in your email signature, right? So if we come into our email signature, you can easily add a link down here. So this is a hyperlink that I've added just to this website, but this could be, this could say online course, and you could add the link to your Etsy page or your landing page on your website or whatever you want to do and promote it that way. You could include it in different email templates that you have. So Latasha was talking about, she has clients who are coming in who sometimes their budget doesn't align with her one-on-one coaching services. So it's very natural for her to have an email template, for example, that maybe is for those folks who they're out of budget. Nice to meet you. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. So maybe this is after your consult call, you've kind of gotten on the same page, but realized you're actually not on the same page because they're not someone who's looking for a solution that's in your price point. Push them to your online courses this way, or whatever that product is. You've got to figure that out. Everybody is going to have a different solution. So whether it be an online course or a download or a checklist, whatever these things are that are kind of a more entry-level option, like Latasha was saying, to some other services that you offer. And you can even still leave a placeholder for yourself to customize this. Of course, you can always customize a template before you go to use it. So they're still feeling like, you're building that relationship, you're nurturing those folks and giving them a very personalized interaction with you while still kind of passing them off to a more passive interaction. So you can still have that relationship without being completely hands off. So again, like Latasha was saying, I want to encourage you guys to not assume that passive income means that you're going to set it and forget it, because that's not always the case. And you'll probably find you'll get a little bit more out of it if you're willing to put in a little bit more and iterate on it. Like I think Latasha was telling me earlier this week when we were doing some rehearsals of this, she has consistently reiterated her master class, 17 times or something. There was 7 times or something like that.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I think 7.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be work. So, don't be intimidated by that. Even Latasha's done it. So it's normal. You got to put in a little bit of work, but then it's set up to really nurture and build those relationships and help funnel those people, back into a life cycle of relationship with you. So That's one example. We've got the sell outside of HoneyBook option and then really promoting it inside of HoneyBook, whether that be through email templates. You can also, of course, hyperlink inside of brochures. So if you have, for example, like an offboarding brochure that you send to your clients where you kind of wrap up, ask them maybe for some referrals, ask them maybe for some reviews, any feedback, maybe have like a happiness survey in there. And then at the bottom have something promoting your online course. So this might be an example of what an offboarding brochure could look like for you guys. You've got some pages at the beginning that'll intro once it loads for me here. So you've got your thank you message, asking for feedback, asking some questions, asking for referrals, and then maybe down at the bottom, rather than saying, looking forward to working with you in the future, you take this opportunity to push out again to your third-party resource where you're selling your products. So lots of different ways to push clients towards whatever third party you're using to sell your services. Now, of course, the other side of this is you can actually sell your services in HoneyBook, of course. So I came up with a little bit of a creative way that we can do this, where really the only step that you have to manually do is actually sending that invoice. Everything else HoneyBook will manage. So I want to walk you guys through the steps of doing that if that is a solution that you're interested in kind of learning a little bit more about. So what I'm going to talk through is, automating with workflows. And when we talk about workflows, you guys, this tool takes a lot of pre-work in order to be set up correctly. So I'm going to walk you guys just through the steps right now of what you need to do in order to get that set up. And then in the second demo, when we come back, I'm going to actually show you how that all falls into place, what it looks like once it's actually in a client's project and all of that. But for right now, I just want to show you guys basically, I don't know what it is. It's like five things that you need to do basically before you can even think about applying a workflow to a client's project. Okay, so the very first place we're going to start, which is a little counterintuitive, which is why we got to lay it all out like this. So you come up to your company settings and you're going to actually customize your project types if you haven't done this already. So project types, oddly enough, are like the key component of making sure that your workflows are set up successfully and really reaching a targeted audience. So that's what we're going for here, is making sure that your clients who are reaching out, inquiring about your product are getting the right resources. So we need to make sure that whatever your product is an option here on this list. So for today's example, I've added online courses, okay? Because you're gonna have lots of clients who are inquiring about your normal services. You offer branding kits, graphic design, you offer web design, which you've got a gold package and a silver package. You've got all these different options, but you've also got your online courses here. And maybe for you, you actually want to specify you offer 3 different online courses. So you want to say online course branding, online course web, online course whatever. And then that way you can get really specific in the resources that you're sending them. So you just have to think a little creatively here about how you want these to be set up. Project types, you can have up to 17. So whatever that means for your business, don't be afraid to get really specific and drill down here, because the more specific you are here, the more specific you can be in your workflows. So basically, depending on the project type that your client selects out of this list, that will trigger a workflow. So that's why I say you can get really specific here and then funnel them into basically like a nurture of information based off of that. So just keep that in mind. So this is your first stop. You're going to want to customize these. The next stop is your contact form. There's a couple different ways you can connect the project type to the contact form. The first of which is having the project type suggested question here. So the way that you can audit your contact form for this is go into your contact form, look for these 2 circles that are linked, and then hover over it, and it'll say it's linked to the project type field. And you'll notice this drop-down list that we were just looking at also lives here. So this is one option for you. And you can change this question to say whatever you want. What are you interested in? What are you looking to hear more about? What are you inquiring? Whatever you want to say. So you can get creative here too. So this is one option. Another option that you have, which I think could be really cool to explore is utilizing multiple contact forms. And this is helpful because you can have a contact form specifically for the product that you offer, where maybe it's a little bit more specific to what you might want to know from them. It's a little bit shorter. You don't need to know, you're not really vetting them as much because you're just funneling them into a kind of preset flow of nurturing them or just sending them where to buy in the third party or anything like that. So keeping it a little bit shorter. I did not include the project type question here, but rather I decided to ask them what course they're interested in, or what, this could be what product are you interested in, and have those listed out. Because what I've actually done here in the settings for this contact form is I've assigned a project type. So this is another option for you guys. Rather than asking the client, what are you interested in? That might feel a little uncomfortable if they already are on your product's contact form page. It seems redundant to ask them what they're looking for, because if this contact form is designated for whatever product you're selling, it's better to just kind of take that work off their plate and assign the project type for them. So this is in the case where you're not wanting to get really specific and drill down. You're just saying, everyone who comes to this contact form, I want this project type to be assigned, which will trigger a specific workflow. So this is if you have one workflow per contact form, this is what you'll want to do. So those are the two options for assigning a project type to a contact form. And then once you've done that, you're going to come up here to your templates. And this is where probably the majority of the pre-work comes in, because you need to build your content. So if you're selling your service in HoneyBook, let's say you're going to trigger this workflow. As soon as they pay, they're going to get your courses every 7 days. So, and the courses are represented in brochures. So you've got module 1, module 2, module 3. It's a 3-week course, something like that. These are going to trigger to send every 7 days. Inside of these kind of workbooks that you're using in the HoneyBook brochure, that you've set up in the HoneyBook brochure, there's going to be a link to access a video that they can only access with a password. Maybe it's, an unlisted YouTube video. Maybe it's a Vimeo that's password protected. Whatever you have set up, there are a lot of different resources out there for where you want to host that content, or maybe the content just lives in the brochure file. Like if it's a checklist, for example, you can have that checklist be the brochure file itself. So it really just depends what format you want to use, what medium you want to use for this. So you can say, hey, this is the step of the program. Every week they're going to get something exactly like this, laying out the steps, but ball is totally in their court. It's not like you're having some one-on-one interaction with them. These things are just triggered to send out. So again, this is just one example. You can get really creative here. The brochure file is a very dynamic file. It actually has 3 different components. So the first of which is content. So this is images and text. So if you wanted to create some beautifully branded visual in Canva and upload that like we have here, you can do that. If you want to just use the tools inside of HoneyBook, you can do that too. You can ask questions and you can display services. So for selling or utilizing this in the context that we're talking about, you're probably not going to display services. Really, you're just going to be using the content and questions blocks. So you can kind of set expectations, walk them through how they're going to use this file. And then at the bottom, maybe you have like a workbook component where you're prompting them to go through some exercises after they've reviewed the video or the checklist or whatever it is that you have there to make it really engaging. So this is just one example, but every time you build a brochure file, so you can send brochures, questionnaires, and emails with workflows. So those are the 3 file types. Brochures are basically just very glam questionnaires, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a really branded version of a questionnaire where you could make it more like dynamic and like a workbook kind of structure like that, the brochure file is probably where you're going to want to hang out. So that's why I'm focusing mostly on that. But for every brochure file you build, you'll also need to set up an email template, because every file is also going to come connected to an email. So we've talked through pretty much all the steps. So you've got to set up your project types, and then you've got to ask the question on your contact form or just assign the project type to the contact form. You've got to build out all your content. So really, most likely it's just going to be emails and brochure files. So I've got my email for module 1. I've got my brochure for module 1 as well. And those will be sent together in the workflow. And then you go into your workflow And then you can build out your workflow, because now you've had all your content built out in the templates. You've got your welcome email, maybe. You've got your brochure module one with the email module one. And now you can really start to build out the workflow and then attach the workflow to the contact form. So lots of steps, but if you guys go in that order, you're going to be totally set up for success. I went a little bit over time here, so we can come back to this in a little bit. But if you guys have any questions on that, definitely hop into the chat and leave them for me, so that when we go into the second demo, I can highlight some of those, or when we get in the last 10 minutes, I can highlight that as well. But Latasha, go ahead into your next section.
Awesome. I got so many great ideas from that. So thank you for that. So I want to talk about sales and marketing a little bit. This is, step 2. Once you've decided what you're going to offer, how are you going to actually sell it and get people to get excited about it? So first, let's break down this process a little bit, because I know the idea of selling and marketing and launching a course is a little bit daunting. First thing, don't stress over the tech. I think just like we just learned with that HoneyBook demo, there's so many ways that you can be creative and honestly be simple. In the simplest form, a digital product is you're going to be sending an email to somebody. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a PDF or a brochure. You can make it really, really simple to start with. You don't need to have kind of all the bells and whistles for your first product or maybe even ever. My best-selling course was filmed on a webcam just like this. I love shooting video. I shoot a lot of video content. I have fancy cameras and microphones. And I actually just decided that I wanted to have a more sort of intimate feel for this course, where it almost felt like I was talking to somebody, on a Zoom call. So I was like, you know what? I was also really short on time and to reach my launch date goal. And so I filmed it on webcam. So you can totally do that. You don't need to have the perfect tech to start with. Next, let's see. You'll also want to leverage some of your existing audiences. So you don't need to completely start from scratch with this launch. Instead of replacing all of your service-based work, think of how you can add on to it. You probably don't want to replace all of your service-based work. You probably just want to add on, or make a spot for those folks who maybe are out of budget and so on. So do what you can to leverage those existing audiences, get repeat customers, kind of build up those sort of super fans to your business. And lastly, outsource when you need to. It doesn't always make sense to. It may not always be financially possible to do so, but it will probably save you a lot of time. If you can go out and do a photo shoot or build a website for somebody while somebody else is working on your landing page for your course or your email sequences for your course, weigh that cost benefit. I've worked with copywriters for landing pages. I've worked with virtual assistants to handle some of the tech side of things or the customer service stuff, video editors. So I pull in people when I need to, especially if I'm being really bogged down by the one-on-one work or the service work. So what you need to launch in the simplest form, you're going to need an email list. Use this as kind of a hand raiser. So I recommend getting this into people's ears a little bit before you actually go live with it, right? So start talking about it. If you're launching an email marketing course, just let people know in your content, in whichever way you're currently promoting your business, hey, I'm launching a DIY. For those of you who want to be DIY with your emails, I'm launching a course soon. If you're interested in learning more about it, get on this email list and I'll send you info when it's ready. So you can do that. You could even do a freebie, an opt-in. Maybe you do a couple of resources that you offer in that email list and you send those out for free. But get people onto your email list, and then you also want to leverage content marketing. Again, use those existing platforms that you're already using just to kind of start the conversation and to steer your content in the direction of the topic of the course, so that when you're ready to go ahead and launch, people are sort of warmed up and you've already told them about why this topic is so important and so cool, and they totally need your course now. And then, of course, a course host, which we talked about. You can certainly use HoneyBook in some DIY ways. There are plenty of other web platforms and specific course platforms, specific digital product platforms that you could explore too if you wanted to, and just link out to from your HoneyBook emails and forms. So I know what you're probably thinking with the email list one. This is certainly what I was thinking when I first started is, oh my gosh, well, I am not, I don't know, Amy Porterfield, right? I don't have the hundreds of thousands of emails on my list. How successful can I really be? So there's actually a ebook I got a while ago. It's called 1,000 True Fans. It's a really good resource if you want to check it out. It's a really short read. But the concept is basically you only need 1,000 true fans to make a six-figure income. That's the whole point of the book. And I'm a big believer in that. You can strive for a 1% sales goal. And if you have 100 people on your list, and let's say your product is $49, that's $49. If you have 1,000 person list, that's $490. Maybe you're selling to 2% of your audience and you're making, either $98 or $980 if you have 1,000 person list, and so on and so forth. So what I recommend doing for that sales goal portion when you're first starting out is making a little list like this and figuring out, okay, I need to get this many people on my email list if I usually sell to about 2% of my audience. And you can make some estimates on that based on market research, see what the average is for other people in this space, and also based on your own existing data. What do you normally book from your own website traffic? And you can use that data to help you kind of project what kind of success you might see, and then kind of reverse engineer that and say, okay, that means I need 500 people on my list to make this a success and to reach that sales goal that I want. So you don't need to be the biggest, just be smart about it and really plan strategically. So 30 to 60 days out, this is when I start to sort of really nurture my audience and get them thinking in the direction of the content that I'm going to release. So for example, I'll have this freebie here up in the right-hand corner, the social media management starter kit. I'll start mentioning that in my YouTube videos, in my Instagram posts. I might go live and say, hey, do you want this free 10-page ebook? Download this. And this is what I'm using to build up my email list. And then as you can see, the surrounding content, those YouTube videos that I'm putting out are specifically related to social media management and social media marketing if I was launching a social media management course. 30 days out, I'm also going to start thinking about beta testers and testimonials. This is really important to make sure, a couple of reasons. One, to make sure that the content is good and that you're not forgetting anything or missing anything, that there's no, big spelling errors or anything like that. I often reach out to my one-on-one clients and say, hey, do you want to beta test this course that I'm launching? You get access to the course for free. Looking for 5 people to do it. I'll just send you a little survey at the end, and you can easily use a HoneyBook questionnaire for that as well. Make it really easy. So I love doing that. And it also, in addition to getting the feedback on the content, you're going to get testimonials that way. It's so much easier to sell something once it's already been reviewed, right? Think about, if you go on Amazon, the first place that I go on a product listing is the reviews. So if you can launch with some reviews already from those beta testers, you're going to be in a really good spot. You also want to start thinking about your social media assets or getting any graphics together for your social channels. You also want to think about a customer service plan. This is important and one that we often forget until it's happening and we're, in panic mode. But think about, just draft out some email responses similar to how you would or I guess you could do it for emails in HoneyBook using a HoneyBook template, an email template. Just draft out some templates for that so that you're ready to go if somebody is locked out of their account or somebody isn't getting the emails or they're not understanding how it works or something like that. And then also start thinking about a webinar if you're going to launch with a webinar. That's what I like to do on launch day. I go ahead and I host that webinar where I offer like a lightning deal for the attendees. So if you're on this call live, I'll also give you access to another course or to a membership community or to a one-on-one call with me, just to kind of drive that sense of urgency. Of course, you want to really get social on social too. Make it a celebration, really make it a party online, answer questions from people. And like I said, just kind of really celebrate. And this is also the point where you may want to launch ads. I usually start with warm leads. So I start with my recently engaged audience, or people who are engaged with me on Instagram and Facebook. That's usually a good place to start because they already have developed that kind of know and like factor with my brand. And now I just need to show up in their feeds a little bit more, maybe deliver them that freebie one more time, get that landing page in front of them or a video in front of them to really kind of secure the deal. So some examples of this, on the left hand here, we of course have our emails that we're launching. And I know it's a little hard to read there, but at the bottom we have testimonials. I'm always launching with testimonials. It makes it a lot easier than launching something that no one's seen before. And again, I'm either getting those testimonials from previous courses or from beta testers who have went through the course and reviewed it for me. We're celebrating on Instagram on these story slides. I always love to put up a question sticker, once you launch, just to see if anybody has a question about the new launch, because chances are if one person does, other people do too. And it's a good way to just kind of get that conversation going. And then lastly, real quick, I want to talk about what if it doesn't go well? What if launch is disappointing? I've been there, believe me. It's okay. You can get back up. In fact, my best-selling course was a flopped launch. It was a not great launch. And I went back and I've updated it. I've changed my marketing strategy for it. And now it's doing great. So grow your list. It might be a volume problem. You might not be getting in front of enough people. So continue to share your opt-in or your freebie, relaunch it, do another webinar, go live, share that freebie, run some more ads to it. You can relaunch it as many times as you want to. You might also want to look into your list and make sure that you're actually targeting the right audience. So if you have a giant email list, maybe you have 20,000 people on your email list, but only 1,000 of those people are actually freelance social media managers. So go through that segmentation process in your email marketing to make sure that you're reaching the right people. And then lastly, of course, like I said, you can rework your ideas, read those reviews from students and beta testers, add on to it. It's never necessarily final. You can always update it and add to it as you need to. So I think we're over to you.
Yeah. Let me pop back into our demo so we can talk through a little bit more about how to set up a workflow here or an automation so that you can, start to take your hands off the wheel a little bit in the process of getting your content in front of the folks who are interested in receiving that productized version of what you're selling. So we already talked through all the steps to get it set up. Now, getting the workflow itself set up is a whole process in and of itself, but I promise you guys it's a lot easier once you do, all the pre-work that I'm talking about. So I feel like the most important thing to realize here, when you're building out a workflow, you're not going to be able to preview the content that you've created. You're just going to be pulling, as with any template in HoneyBook, from the list of titles. So just be sure you're giving your, content a really clear, obvious title, like I've done module 1, 2, and 3 here for my brochure files. And in my emails, I've done the same thing so that I know what goes with what. I already took the time to build out the content. And odds are you're going to have to flip back and forth a little bit. You're going to come here and you're going to say, oh, module 1. Okay, wait, now I need to go back. So your odds are, I had to do this yesterday when I was building this out in our demo account. You're going to come in here and you're going to build this out, and then you're going to think, well, what does that say? And you're going to go out of the workflows tool and you're going to go into the templates and you're going to double check your work and you're going to make sure that everything says what you want it to. But at least once you have the content finalized, then as you could see in the workflow itself, it's really easy to kind of pull those pieces together and match those things up in the flow itself to make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So again, just to highlight the example here for you guys, setting some actionable steps for your clients, leaving the areas where they can have kind of a workbook function going on. And then maybe even setting some expectations like your next module will arrive in 7 days. You could add a bit of content like that down here. Or maybe that's more like what your email says. Maybe your email is saying, hey, click the button below to access your first module. Your next module will arrive in 7 days, whatever you want to do there. But once you get that content secured, then when you're going to build out the actual workflow, it's a lot easier because all you're really doing at this point is deciding the cadence and the triggers of what's happening. So the way that I built this out is I had the first one is just an email right after they submit payment, and I'm going to have this send automatically. And obviously I have this automatically applied to everyone who fills out my online course contact form. So that is controlled here. So this is where you automate with the contact form using those project types. So I have all these different project types based off of that list that we originally customized at the very first step. And you can, if this list included all your different iterations of your online courses, like we had said, if you have online course branding, online course web, you could have a different workflow for each of those things with the different content that you need to make and then tie it to that specific project type. So again, don't be afraid to think creatively here about how to use these project types. I've seen all kinds of stuff. So get smart with that. And then you can easily connect it there. So the way that this will work basically is anyone who submits that contact form that I've labeled online courses, where I have the project type online course attached, they will automatically have this workflow applied. But the first step will not trigger until the first payment is made. So that's what I was saying. The only step that you really have to get involved with this process, this example process that I've built out today, is sending that invoice. And then it's completely going to be, ball in the client's court. They are going to pay through HoneyBook, and then they're going to start receiving the content through HoneyBook, and ball's, not in your court anymore. So relatively passive there. They're filling out the contact form. That's all automated. So, really just sending that invoice and following up with them however you see fit. I would say probably try to keep it as hands-off as possible if they're inquiring about an online course. It's kind of your responsibility to set those expectations up front, like with the contact form itself. So you can always also add content blocks like images, branding information, and even text to contact forms as well. So don't forget that. You can use those fields to really set the expectations with your clients that they're inquiring, and they'll receive an invoice as soon as they inquire or something like that to make it very clear what the CTA is, that this is kind of their inquiring to purchase. So you can do that in the contact form. And then once they've submitted payment, this will send automatically. Then the next day, again, in this email, you can set the expectation. Tomorrow is when we kick off. You're going to receive your first email. Maybe even do that in the contact form as well to really set those clear expectations. The next day, they're automatically going to receive the first module, which is brochure 1, and email 1, 7 days later, module 2. And all of this is set to send automatically so that your clients are just going through the process on their own. And then one day after they finish, maybe you send a thank you email, pushing them to the next online course, or pushing them to your next freebie, or pushing them to your one-on-one services, because now that trust is there, you've nurtured that relationship, and now it's ready to upsell them a little bit. So take those opportunities to do that, and you can totally automate that entire process in HoneyBook. This is how it would look. This is how it would work. And then really all you have to do, well, you don't have to do anything, but just to show you guys what it'll look like inside of a project, because the workflow is going to automatically apply, like I said, based off of that contact form, so long as that project type is associated. So it'll automatically apply to the project itself. But the way that that looks once you're in here, just for your own peace of mind, basically, the way that it looks is you'll have a workflow applied down here, and you can take the full view to be able to see all the steps lined out, so you know kind of where they fall in the process. As steps get checked off, they'll be checked off here, and you can kind of check in and see where your clients fall in that process. So hopefully that all makes sense. I know that is a lot to cover, and there's a lot of pre-work kind of involved there. I know we had some questions around it. So I can start going into some of those questions. Someone was asking if you can put HTML or videos into brochures. So you can't like code into the brochures per se, but you can add content blocks, which could be, like we were saying, imagery or text. So my recommendation, if you're wanting to share video content, would be to hyperlink to it, and then have it live on, some external video player, whatever that option is for you. So the way I did it in this example is I just highlighted this text, and then I came over here and hyperlinked it out. And I always recommend making this text very obvious that it's clickable. So underlining it, bolding it, maybe making it a different color so that people realize it's actually a hyperlink, because HoneyBook doesn't default to do that because we let you control the branding elements of it. So I always recommend just choosing those different formatting elements so that it's really obvious to your client that this is a clickable resource. So that would be your option for embedding content that way. Someone else asked if a client can download and save the brochure. They wouldn't be able to download it. It would all be living inside of the HoneyBook client portal. So they can always come into their client portal to access any of the, previous modules, any of the ones you've already sent to them, they're in the process of working on. It'll save their progress as they're working on it too, so they can come back multiple days and access it that way. So it's not downloadable, it's all cloud-based, so it'll all be in HoneyBook for them. Let's see what else. Will the training be housed outside of HoneyBook? So it depends on how you want to set it up. There, like we've talked about, there are kind of two different options for how you can structure this. You can sell and manage your course completely, or I keep saying course, whatever your product is. Course is the example that we've been using today. But whatever your product is, you can house that and manage that and sell that outside of HoneyBook, and just use HoneyBook as kind of a way to market that, whether it be in your email templates or your brochures in different parts of your process. Or you can use HoneyBook to sell, manage, and automate the full process of getting that content in front of your clients. So it just depends on how you personally want to manage it. The example that I've really spent the majority of the time going through today is that kind of second option of selling through HoneyBook, where the only step that you'll have to manually do is send that invoice, and then HoneyBook will manage the entire thing from there for you. Let's see what else. How do you do a freebie offer for downloadable content within HoneyBook? So this is a great question too. I didn't really talk about this too much. I mean, you can always hyperlink to it, but if you wanted to have a downloadable version in email templates, you can always have an attachment involved. So you can always insert the PDF or the downloadable checklist or whatever freebie you have. You can have that set up to be attached to the email template itself. And then you could build that into an automation as well. It just depends on how you want the steps to be set up. So if you had, for example, a specific contact form where clients wanted to receive a freebie, easily done, right? Because you have that contact form, you assign the project type freebie, you have the workflow be one step with this email with the freebie attached. So you can totally do that. I love that question because that was like a really quick, easy answer, and workflows are not traditionally quick, easy answers. So that is something you can definitely do. How does HoneyBook work with an external email provider like Constant Contact, MailerLite, or MailChimp? So the way that you would use any of those third-party kind of marketing resources with HoneyBook is most likely through our integration with Zapier. So you can connect HoneyBook with Zapier, and then Zapier connects with, whatever mail marketing resources they have. I think they connect with at least MailChimp for sure, and I'm pretty sure Constant Contact as well. And basically the way that integration funnels is it extracts information from HoneyBook and pushes it into the other marketing email resource or tool. So it's just a one-way integration. So it pulls information out of HoneyBook. It can't push information into HoneyBook. So it wouldn't be, taking information from your mailing list and then pushing that into HoneyBook. So the automation triggers, that's not how it would work. It would more so be, if someone finishes going through your automation, then you want to pull them into MailChimp to continue to nurture them with other things, or just add them to your mailing list. You could definitely do it that way. So that's kind of how it works on that side. Let's see, is there a place for brochure templates like the one you showed for offboarding? I don't believe so. There actually are a ton of HoneyBook educators and HoneyBook pros out there who offer, brochure content. I think Gallery is one of the great resources out there that have a lot of different brochure templates that you can purchase. So that's a product that they've productized that you can check out. So I would just encourage you to look around and see what other resources out there, but there's no like HoneyBook template example that you can work from like that, just already in the system. Okay, let's see. We've got a couple more here. How do you upload completed files like ebooks, audio, etc., and where do you do that? I'm not sure if this question is in reference to uploading that to HoneyBook, because I think we probably already went over all the different ways that you can do it. You can hyperlink, you can attach in the email, you can push someone to a landing page. So that would be kind of your options if you're looking to do it through HoneyBook. Otherwise, if you're looking to, edit a video or something like that, I don't know, Latasha, if you have good resources for folks to be able to, where should they go to kind of create some of this content if they have that?
Yeah, one of my favorite tools to recommend is Loom or Vidyard. Either of those, they work very similarly. They're browser extensions, and you can just easily create almost, a video like this, screen share and have your face on camera, or just have your face on camera, or just screen share. So those are great kind of entry level video recording platforms. And then you can just link out to them and easily pop those into like a brochure, and it's hosted. Vidyard gives you unlimited videos, which is pretty cool. So you could host out to all of those. So yeah, I think that was a question for video, right? As far as like ebooks and stuff, I love Canva just for designing, content. I think that's probably the easiest one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, we are almost at time. But thank you, Latasha, so much for your time. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, everybody.